Russwater RPG encounters. Plots, places, and people in a point crawl world. Plots. I like to run games with smaller groups of 1 to 3 players. It is a lot harder to keep all the moving parts together, the momentum going, and everyone engaged with a larger group. I create small, short scenarios that can be the basis of an adventure plot, usually 1 to 2 hours long. Initially, I will base them on creatures found in the Young Adventurer's guidebooks. I will base their stats on the creature's danger level and description in the book. The players can look them up in the book and help them decide how to deal with the creature they are encountering. Later, when the players are more experienced, the ideas for this could come from one of the many great TTRPG sourcebooks, or from a piece of fiction or real-life drama, but usually comes from looking at fantasy images. I have a folder with thousands of fantasy images. I will choose 2 or 3 at random and see if I can make an idea that links them together. Once I have the basis of the plot, I go searching the images for other ones that could either replace or add to those chosen to make the scenario better. The plot may end up having roughly 3 to 7 images that could be revealed depending on how the scenario plays out. Sometimes new images are chosen from the image bank when needed in the moment of gameplay to help illustrate an unforeseen point. Places. We play in a point crawl manner. We end up with point places that the party moves between. Random things can happen when moving from point to point, but usually this is not the case. Our places are usually based on somewhere locally in real life, like a place in our local town or the big city/area nearby, or from famous fiction that I am familiar with. The main thing is trying to choose places I can describe in detail because I can picture them well in my head. Then alter it to suit our purposes. We also sometimes use small fantasy map resources bought on the internet. Encounters can be either theater of the mind or on 1-inch grid paper, depending on what best suits the scene. The players map out the relationships between the points as the story grows, with new points getting added to their map. People. Once I have chosen our main creatures/NPCs for the story, one of the things we often do is the players get to choose who the actor will be that is playing that NPC in the story. Mostly they are people we are familiar with, like family, friends, or a famous person. This is great to flavor the encounter in ways I did not initially imagine and make things more interesting. The PCs often get to name the NPC, and we start badly impersonating the character based on the personality and mannerisms of the person we know. The players help adding nuance to flesh out the character. Part of the fun is not knowing who will turn up for a guest appearance from session to session. Some NPCs go on to become regulars. Another way things may occur is I, as the GM, might choose a famous scene and set of characters and describe it as best I can, waiting for the players to work out who and where these people are from. An example of this could be using the Central Perk Cafe and the cast of Friends. The plot could be completely unrelated and almost illogical for a normal Friends plot lines, but that dissonance can often add to the fun. Common encounters, actions, and damage. I use an Excel spreadsheet of 800 monsters listed with ability scores found on the internet to randomize stats. I have a list of conditions, encounter strategies, creature state, and motivation, which can see below. I use a random number generator to combine a random image, stat block, condition, strategy, state, and motivation to create an encounter the party would not have seen before. Sometimes this is not balanced at all. I have an opinion that, unlike normal D&D 1 level 1 PC with good preparation, tactics, or luck should have a chance to survive or beat an encounter with a CR1 monster. Young Adventurer's Guide Creatures. Danger level. Young Adventurer's creatures have a numerical danger level from 0 to 5, plus epic rank, which I equate to 6, indicating how hard it is to defeat or otherwise overcome an encounter with one of these creatures. Young Adventurer's Guide creatures have hit points equal to d20x their danger level squared. Danger level 0 would be 1 HP, epic would be 36 d20. That also have a number of attacks equal to their danger level with a minimum of 1. For instance, a Danger 0 creature has 1 attack and Epic has 6 attacks in a round. Enemy damage. In general, the monsters will have more HP and outnumber the players, but will not hit as hard. Minion creatures usually do low/no damage. Combat lasts an average of 2 to 5 rounds. PCs have a tendency to average around 8 HP damage per attack, d20 with advantage, whereas the creature's average is 5 HP per attack, 2d6 with any one amiss. Things are potentially deadly when the opponents have over an average of twice the party's total HP, doing a quarter of party's HP damage per round, or if they have the same amount of HP, damage, and number of actions as the party. Creatures do damage using various die combinations. Choosing to use a pool of smaller die rather than one big die makes the probability of a value in the middle of the range more likely, so more manageable, and adds to the number of potential ones that mean it is a miss. Besides using different die, the combat model roll remains similar. Generally only boss creatures will roll a d20 that potentially breaks a target's concentration, ending any spell or ability they are concentrating on. Other creatures are more likely to use potentially inflicting conditions as a special action. An example of an early SAR 1 monster could be some kind of ooze. Hit points equals 30 HP. Speed 20 feet. Hit 2d6 HP. Bludgeoning damage. Grappler. Tentacles, hooks, and grubby fingers. Uses strength to restrain. Condition. Grappled. Roll above strength 16 to escape. Motivation. Feeding. Initially feeding on something, but you look tastier. Minions. Often an encounter will have minions, or the equivalent of extras, in the scene besides the main NPCs or creatures. These additional actors usually have 1 HP, being downed with a hit, and will flee after taking any damage. Often they are more set dressing than a true threat. Grouped enemy units. Some creatures or enemies can be combined into a single enemy unit to make it easier to run at the table. It may be made up of multiple creatures, but having one combined stat block, HP pool, number of attacks per round. For instance, a group of 10 minion commoners might have a 10 AC plus 10 HP for a total of 20 HP and do 1 HP damage per commoner remaining on d20 rolls of 2 or more. Tougher units might be made up of a number of creatures with 20 AC to start and 5 HP for each CR level and additional attacks for each 5 levels of CR, reducing in power as they are damaged. Morale. The GM can decide to do a morale check for creatures at any time to determine how they view the combat they are participating. Morale rolls can be triggered by defeating half of an enemy group, defeating a group's leader, or reducing a lone enemy to half HP. Other effects may trigger a morale roll at the GM's discretion. Hirelings also make morale rolls when they aren't paid, their employer dies, or they face extraordinary danger. Morale may also be improved by paying hirelings more and treating them well. It is assumed that most creatures do not want to die and will try to avoid it. There are many situations where creatures will choose not to fight to the death. Some abilities may be designed to force a morale check. Roll a 2d6 morale check. 12 equals rallies and attacks with advantage out of desperation. 10 to 11 equals continues to fight. 8 to 9 equals calls for aid and continues to fight. 6 to 7 equals tries to talk, parley, or negotiate. 4 to 5 equals surrenders, plays dead or is incapacitated. 2 to 3 equals run/flee.